So for this functions concept, I'll just explain you the function concept using a simple C program. So basically, why do we use functions? So actually, for the reusability, we will be using the functions basically. Fine. And to reduce the number of lines of code and to reuse the code, I cannot write all the code inside the main function. That becomes hectic for me. So what I'll do, I'll just divide the particular things into number of tasks. So inside the main functions, if you do add or subtract or multiplication, everything you have to write inside the main function, means it takes almost 1000 to gather lines of code. Whereas if I just want to execute whichever I want, like I just want only the add function to be executed, I just want only the subtraction function to be executed, I just want only the multiplication function to be executed, in that case you can write something called as a function. Fine. So for the function, as we all know, main is a function which will be having open and close bracket, so it indicates that it is function, right? So in the same way, you will be having the function concept here also, right? So let me explain you the function concept with an example, then only you will be able to understand it in a better way. Fine. Suppose if there is a question called as illustrate the or explain anything for that matter. Okay, so explain the concept of function with an example. Concept of function with an example. So now all of us are familiar with addition of two numbers. Basically, when we just go ahead with the C programming, after doing the hello world, we will just go ahead with addition of two numbers. That will be our first program basically. So what we will do here is that, so let me add two numbers. Using what concept? Using functions concept. Okay, adding two numbers using functions. So what I'll do here is that, obviously, what are the first lines in the C program? So that is ash include these things anyhow will be familiarized with input output stream, IO stream for input output functions that we give as C out and C in. And next comes using namespace std, using namespace std to avoid the namespace errors. I'll just define that here itself, right? And the next one is these things we will be familiarized with doing all the things. Fine. So the next one that I am going to do is int main. So this is from where my particular program execution starts, right? So now I have to add two numbers, right? So if I have to add two numbers, what needs to be done basically is that I have to write a function for add. So basically what we used to do, so let me write a simple program for addition first. Then I'll tell you what can be done using functions. So we'll write a simple program for addition. What is it? So first declare the variables. I am allocating the space, right? So how many numbers do we need to add? At least we need two numbers. So let me store two numbers into variables called as A and B, and I have to calculate the sum of two numbers, right? So I will make sure that I will create one more variable called as sum. Fine. So since the sum is not added with any of the terms as of now, we have not calculated the sum, right? So I can put it as sum is equal to 0. Initially, I have not calculated any sum value here. Fine. So this is data type. Integer is a data type. Let me just take the integer data type here. And A and B are the variables, and even the sum is a variable. Fine, we have declared it. But the sum value is being initialized to 0. Why? Because I don't want any garbage values to be printed. Fine. So what I'll do, I'll just place 0 inside the sum value. Fine. So what is the next thing that we have to do after declaration of the variables? I have to add two numbers, right? So to add two numbers, I should know the value of two numbers. Which are the two numbers? Fine. So what I can do, C out, enter the value of A and B. Enter the value of what? A and B. Next, C in is the input statement. You can enter the value of A and B, which will be stored using the input statement. This is done. Then after entering the value of A and B, suppose I enter the value of A and B as, I'll write, see if I just give the double comments if I just give like this is comments, it will not be executed. Okay, my compiler will get to know that this is a statement that need not to be executed. Fine. So this is for entering the value of a and b. Suppose I enter 5 and 10 in my output. Fine. So the next thing, what is the next thing that I have to do? C out is done, C in is done. I have read the particular values of a and b. Calculate the sum. Sum is equal to, what is the sum? A plus b, exactly. Fine. So the next thing is C out. I have to print the sum value that is being calculated, right? So we have calculated the sum, but I should know the value that is being placed inside the variable. What is that variable? That variable is nothing but sum. So the sum will be placed inside this particular value or variable called as sum. Fine. So here I'll just write inside the comment sum is equal to, what is it? 5 plus 10 is equal to 15. Fine. So now I have to print the value of sum. So let me print it. I'll add double quotes here. Sum is equal to so the double quotes, from where it's going to take the value. It is going to take the value that is being stored in the sum variable. Fine. So now this is for addition of two numbers. But how to write it using functions? That is what we have to do, right? So you are having three basic concepts in functions. So which are the three basic concepts that I have to know in functions is, which are the three basic concepts? One is function declaration, or you can call the other name as function prototype as well. And then comes your function call. Fine. And then comes your function definition. Okay. And then comes your function definition. Done. So these three are the things for my function to work. So first, so to declare a function, you have to allocate the space for that particular function, not inside the main function, but before the main function. Fine. So let me give you a practical example here. Fine. It is like some relatives have come to your home, and they might be standing outside the door. Fine. And they'll ring a bell. That is calling bell. Fine. So what exactly happens there? Someone is standing outside and he is ringing a bell, a calling bell, right? So someone is standing outside is declaring something is there, right? So in the same way, here I have to declare a function before the main function. Consider this main function as your main door. So what happens there? Someone is standing outside the main door and they are pressing the calling bell. So you are actually knowing that someone is there waiting outside the main door. Yes. In the same way, let me write a function declaration here outside the main function and before the main function. Fine. So that is nothing but I have to write a function for my, which is the function? So I have to write a function for my addition. Fine. So we have to know the syntax before. Whatever you do, you have to write with the syntax in C or C++. Yes. So what is the syntax for the function declaration? Okay, function declaration, make it as to make it in a simple, easier manner, we'll just write it as integer, name of the function, and integer, name of the function, and then inside brackets integer. Sorry, I'll write it as, rather than this, I'll just write the data type, syntax here itself, okay, so that you will get to know, you can compare it in an easier manner. So for the syntax, I'm just using separate color here so that you will be able to highlight in a better manner. Fine. Done. So syntax, right? Data type or return type also they'll give in some of the textbooks. Data type, function name of the function, what exactly it's doing. Okay. And please give name of the function as like if it is addition, subtraction. Don't give it as like a, b, c, d and all these things. Fine. So that that's not a very good style of programming. Fine. If you give a, b and all these things, no one will be able to understand what exactly it is. Suppose if your friend wants to execute your program, he or she will not know what exactly the function is meant to be. Fine. So the correct programming style is you have to give the function name properly, what exactly it is doing. When I see the function name, I should get to know what exactly my function is doing, okay, without any explanation. So that is why we are just using functions. So don't give it as a, b, c, d and all those things. Give a proper name. If I am doing addition function, give it as sum or add. So we will be getting to know it in a proper way. Fine. Then we can give data type. Again, data type I can give variable 1. Okay, or I can just allocate the space for this. That is what is declaration meant to be, right? It is like you would have visited some hotels, right, where they would have kept reserved table, right? So the table will be reserved. So that is the declaration. You are allocating a space for someone to sit over there, right? So in the same way, you are just allocating a space for this particular variables here. So I can give it as int, or I can give it as data type 1, data type 2, or variable 1, variable 2, anything. Okay, it's up to you. Put a semicolon here. And one more thing to notice, put a semicolon for the function declaration. Okay, function call. But if you put a semicolon for the called function or function definition, the particular function definition will not get inside the loop at all. Okay, I'll tell you when we just come across it. Okay, first we'll see the function declaration. So what is the data type? Integer. What is the function name? Let me take it as add, since I am doing addition function. Int add. Give everything in the capital letter. Okay, since it is case sensitive, don't go ahead with the give everything in the small letter. Don't go ahead with the capital letter, because it might be confusing for you to do the same throughout the program. So integer add, the data type is int. Let me take which are the two variables that we have taken, int a and int b. You can give it as int add, int also. Not at all an issue. Fine. So this is the first one. So let me comment off the syntax here. Okay, this is the syntax for the function declaration. So you have to specify here. You have to specify here. This says function declaration. How you can relate it to the normal things here? Function declaration means somebody is pressing a calling bell at your home, and you will see like with the window, in the window you will just check who is it, and you will actually see that there are two people waiting outside the main door. Fine. So I have declared two variables. So you will see that two people are waiting outside. Fine. Next, what exactly after the calling bell is rung, what you will do? You will call them inside, right? So that is your function call. Call them inside. So where exactly needs to be the function call? So they will enter from the main door. So inside the main function should be your function call. Fine. So the function call is always written inside the main function. So even if it is add, subtraction, addition, subtraction or multiplication, anything. So you can write plenty of the function calls inside the main function, and you can comment whichever you want, and you can uncomment and comment whichever you want and whichever you don't want. Fine. So these things can be done in the functions. Fine. So suppose I just want the addition of two numbers, and how the particular compiler will recognize that it is a function. That is, it's a function call or it's a function declaration or definition. How do it gets to know which actually needs to be executed? It is based upon the function name. See, I will highlight this function name with the color now. Addition is a function name. So the same name should be given for the function call and function definition as well. Fine. So let me call that inside my main function. So declare the variable C in, C out, everything will be done here. Integer, add. So syntax will be obviously the same. Fine. So you can write the same thing, not at all an issue here. But here what I can do is, it is not mandatory to mention the data type here. What you can do is, you can just mention the function name. You can just mention the function name. Since declaration, we have added the data type. So we are reserving a space, how much is required for integer, how much is required for floating point. So all these things, the space will be allocated there in the declaration. Here I have to make sure that which are the variables, right? So function name. So function name of variable 1, comma, variable 2. Fine. So these are the two functions with a semicolon must. Done. So this int add, so you can give it as int add or you can give it as add also, not at all an issue. Add a comma b. Add a comma b variable. Okay. Function name is add. Let me highlight it with green color. See, that is how my compiler will be able to recognize it. Add the same name. If you give in capital letter, you have to give it in capital letter. Don't give spaces in between the function names. So give it in capital letter. If it is small letter, give it in small letter itself throughout the function, so that it will be easier for us to recognize and for the compiler also to recognize and to execute it in a proper way. If you don't give that, obviously you will face with the errors. So integer a comma, this is a and this is b. Fine. So this is the particular function call. This is the function call. Okay. So this is the function call. Next comes your function definition. So instead of calculating the sum here, what I'll do is, I'll calculate the sum. Inside my function definition, and I will return that particular value of sum here. I can return the particular value of sum, or you can just print the sum value inside the function definition itself. Anything is okay. So it should not be an issue. Fine. So you can calculate there and you can return the sum value to the main function, or you can either print the value here also. Not at all an issue. Fine. So now what I'll do, inside the function definition, I'll write the calculation. This is the difference that we are facing now. Okay. Inside the function definition. So I'll write the function definition now. How to write it? Combine both the things. See, here I can just only give the data types. Integer add, I can give it as int comma int also. Here, two variables are of the type int and int. I can combine both the things. Int add of, what is it? Int a comma int b. Int a comma int b. Fine. You can actually give the other variable name also. It's not mandatory that you should follow the same names for both the things. So since this is the first time we are doing, I'm just giving the same names for you to properly understand the concept. Fine. Function definition. Inside the function definition, so it is like a function call. So as I explained to you, someone is waiting outside. Two members are there. You got to know the declaration. They are ringing. They are making a call, or they are just what they are doing is, they are waiting outside the main door and they are ringing the bell, right? So when the calling bell is rung, then you will just open the door and you will call them inside, and obviously you will call them inside and you will greet them, right? So the way of greeting is nothing but the definition there. Fine. So you are defining what exactly needs to be done. So suppose if you know them, you will call them and you will greet, or else if you don't know them, obviously you will just check what is the issue and you will send them, right? So that is defining what exactly you are doing with them. Fine. So that is what we just call it as a function definition, right? So now inside the function definition, I have to calculate the value of sum. Fine. So here only, if you want to initialize the value of sum here itself, not at all an issue. You can initialize, or else if you want to initialize here itself, that can also be done, since we are returning the value there. Fine. So what is the calculation that we have done? Integer sum is equal to a plus b. Sum is equal to a plus b. When I give return, so this data type, we can call it as return data type also. Okay. Return the value of sum. Return the value of sum. Fine. So it will take that particular sum value and it will place in the value, return the value of sum here. So this sum value, whatever is being calculated here. So let me call one more variable here. So I'll take the sum value to be 0 here. Control X. Okay. Let me initialize some value to be 0 here itself so that it will be better for you to understand. Okay, done. So now what I'll do, I will actually take one more variable called as result to place the result. Right? So result is equal to a plus b. Result is equal to add of a plus b. I'll make this a small letter. Fine. Result is equal to add of a plus b. When my compiler sees int add int, it will go, when the main function sees this, it will come here. See, always we have to enter from the main door, right? So in the same way, my compiler will get to know that it has to start its execution from the main function itself. Fine. So when my compiler comes to this line, add of a comma b, it will go and search whether there is a function declaration, to which data type it belongs to, what is the space that needs to be occupied. Then it will come here and it will see, okay, fine, there is a declaration. Okay, that's done. Then what it does, it will go in search of the same name of the function, add. Then it will go in search of the same add function and it will go with the definition. It will get inside that particular flower brackets, or it will get inside that particular statement block. What it will do, it will get inside the particular statement block, addition function. Then what it will do, in sum equal to 0, sum is equal to a plus b is calculated. Then you will return the sum value. You will return the sum value. This sum value, whatever you are returning, this sum value, whatever you are returning back, I'll give different color. Okay, this sum value, whatever you are returning back, will go and sit inside the result. Will go and sit inside the result. Return means obviously whatever is being calculated in this add definition, it will go and sit in result. Then what I'll do is, so see out, instead of printing the sum, I'll print the value of result. Result is equal to, you can print the value of result. You can print the value of result. It is as simple as that if you understand, right? So there are three parts: function declaration, do it before the main function; function call, do it inside the main function; function definition, do it outside the main function. Fine. So what exactly is a function call? You will be calling that particular function and you will be executing that particular function. So when you will call the particular function, my compiler will go in search of declaration, whether it's declared. Then it will go with the, after declaring, obviously my compiler will get to know that in the main function, when the function call comes into the picture, it will go and search for the definition. Whatever the result that is being returned back, it is going to print, it is going to give it to the variable result. It will be stored in the variable result and the value will be printed in the result. The value will be printed in the result. Fine. So this is the basic concept of function declaration, function definition and function call. The other name given to this is, there is one more thing that we can just go ahead with this here. Fine. So inside the main function, whatever the function you are writing inside the main function, that is add of a comma b, add of a comma b. So this add of a comma b, this you can call it as calling function. This you can also call it as calling function. So this is a function which is calling the another function. Fine. And outside the main function, which has the same function name, as the one that is being written inside the main function, it is called as called function. It is called as called function. It is called as called function. Fine. So you can give the same example for calling function and called function, and you can give the same example for function declaration, function definition and function call. Fine. I have written the syntax also there, right? So you can give the same syntax. So for the syntax of function definition, I will be writing the syntax here. Okay, it's the same thing. What is the syntax? I'll write it here. What is the syntax? Is nothing but data type, function name, then what we have, Again we have data type. I'll write the syntax for this here. Okay, I'll write the syntax before to this, that will be better. Syntax to function definition. Okay, so data type, function name, data type, variable 1 comma data type variable 2. Done. Next, come to the statement block. So this will be your statement block. Fine. So when you are given with the question like illustrate, or you can write a function, or you can write a program for the adding two numbers, or you can be given with a question called as illustrate function call or function definition, function declaration with an syntax and example. You have to write the syntax, then you have to write the example for these concepts. Fine. So without the syntax, you cannot write anything in C or C++ programming languages. Write the syntax first, then you write the example. This is what you can write. Okay. So this is the thing that we can do with respect to the functions. Fine. So this particular thing you can write for almost three questions. One is you can write it for addition of two numbers using functions, or you can write it for calling function and called function example, and you can write it to give the syntax and example for function declaration, function definition, and function call. Hope you have understood the function concept. Thank you.